Welcome back to the channel, everyone. My name is Ishan, and today we're going to be doing a Lightroom tutorial for the Dehancer plugin. So we're going to jump right into the computer, and I'm going to go over some details on why you want to use this plugin, and we're going to edit a little photo together to show you some results. So let's just jump right into it. So first off, I'll show you guys, this is Dehancer. You can find them at dehancer.com, and they have a photo plugin. So this is it right here, and it'll work for Photoshop, Lightroom, Capture One, and some other softwares as well. And what this is going to do is create a analog. It's going to create a analog simulation for your photographs. For example, if you want to create a little more depth and kind of get that little film effect with your digital photos, this is going to be the plugin that you want to look for. They do have a trial, so you guys can try this out for free. And if you guys do end up liking this program and want to purchase it, they provided me with a discount code for you guys. I'll put it up right on the screen. Just apply this at the checkout and you'll receive the discount on your entire purchase, whether it be the photo editing app or the video plugin. It'll just be a lump sum right off that, so it'll save you guys a couple bucks. So let's just jump right into it, and we're gonna edit a photo together. So the photo we're going to be editing is right here, and this is of my friend Steven, and we shot this photo at Rattlesnake Point here in Ontario. And once you have your photo open, all you're going to do is right click, click edit in. Once you've installed Dehancer Lightroom, you'll see this little pop-up right here, and it says edit in Dehancer Lightroom plugin. Just go ahead and click that, and we're going to leave all these settings the same. We're going to do our file format as TIFF. To get the maximum resolution, 16-bit to get the most color, and our resolution is going to be at 300 dpi. So we're going to click edit right here and just give it a second. It'll open up the plugin and it'll prepare the file for us to edit. And what it'll do is create a little duplicate for you, and it'll open up the file in the Dehancer plugin itself. So on the left over here, you can see a bunch of presets, and there's quite literally an endless amount of variations that you can use. And that's where we're kind of going to start to get a little base edit for our image. And what we'll do is we'll bounce between a couple of these presets we have over here just to see the different effects that it's applying. And what I personally like to do is use these presets as a base to see where this image would kind of look best in, whether it be black and white or color. They have an endless amount of simulation, so I like this one right up here. Where was it? So I like this one right here, the Fujichrome Velvia 50. I feel like this has a very strong base for this specific image. And what we're going to do is we're going to jump into the panel on the right, and we're going to go through these settings and dial in exactly what we want for your personal preference, right? So some of the things to highlight in this specific preset over here is you can see the halation right over here. So let me see if I can zoom in for you. So it's creating its own little halations right around the edges, and I personally like that. It adds a little bit more depth to the image, and it really highlights that kind of like the halation that you get from shooting, let's say, like a CineStill 800T or even the 400D, for example. So right up here on the right, the first setting is you're going to have is your source. So this is going to give you your exposure compensation, your temperature control, and this is just going to be a very broad. So this is going to affect your entire image, and it's going to also have little defringing over here if that's something that you need. So right off the top, I do want to warm up this image just a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our slider and take it to the right just a tad. See, if we take it all the way up, it gets really, really warm. We do have the sun coming in from the right side of the camera, so we do want a little bit of warmth. And as you guys can see, the before and after just adds that little bit of warmth. So right down here, we have our film developer. This is going to basically control our contrast of the image. And this is a very high contrasted image to begin with. So if we want to lower that to recover some of the shadow detail over here, we can just by sliding this slider to the left. So we'll do that because I do like all the texture that's happening in the rocks right over here. That's perfect. And we'll leave the gamma correction, color separation, all those alone. So here's the film compensation, and we can enable this. So this is going to affect a lot of our whites in the image, and there is a lot of detail in the sky over here, so we want to recover that. So as you guys can see, just by turning that on, you get a lot of those, you get a lot of that texture back into the sky. So by changing the tonal range, it's going to change where the whites get affected in your image. So we're just going to bring it down just over here, and the impact is going to be how much this specific effect affects your image. So we want it very little, and this white point obviously is going to be control of the actual white point itself. So we're going to bring this up just a little bit. And as you guys can see, it's very, very subtle, but it's going to impact your image a lot, especially if you want to recover some of those highlights. So moving on down, we have our expand panel. And again, this is going to be the opposite of our film compression, and this is going to affect our black points. So just turning that off and on, as you guys can see, it adds a lot of contrast, it adds more depth into the image. But for my personal preference, I do want to see a little bit more in the backpack. So I'm just going to lower this just a bit, just to recover some of those details. So moving on down, we're going to leave everything else the same. The print panel over here is going to basically, so the print panel over here is going to give you a couple different options. This is going to be the base layer of your image itself. And it kind of adds, like, you know, the textures, the colors of the base, like the underlying tones. The preset that we used has the Kodak 2383 print film. If you guys do want to change it, of course, you can just by clicking right over here. This will show you guys the different results. So between these two, this one's a lot cooler, the Fujifilm. I do prefer Kodak, and when I do shoot film, I do shoot on Kodak film. So this picture is actually taken on Kodak Portra 400. So we have a ton of detail to work with, just for this example that we're going to be editing. And yeah, so we're just going to keep that the same. And I do like how it's looking. So we're just going to move on down. So this is the color head, and you're going to make a lot of corrections here if you need, especially if you're shooting on digital. If your white balance was off, this is where you're going to be spending a lot of your time correcting the colors. And we're going to leave this exactly how it is because the colors look great in this image right here. And as you guys can see, get the blues back in the sky. So film grain. So because this image was shot on film, I'm actually going to deselect this option because the film itself has a natural grain pattern. So we're just going to leave that off. Again, if you're shooting digital, which most of you guys are probably going to use this software for, because I know film gets expensive after a while. So because your images may not have any grain, this is going to be the perfect software to replicate the genuine type of grain that you would see in a film image. So if we just even zoom in here and turn this on, it's going to replicate. It even looks better than Portra 400. Portra 400 has a very, very fine grain to begin with. But regardless, we're just going to leave that off as I do prefer the natural grain pattern, at least in my film over here. So moving on down, here's the halation. And again, we talked about this in the beginning. You see these outer glows that you get around the edges of the image where this, where you get the highest highlights. And just to show you guys a little off and on, it does add a little bit of warmth. It adds a little bit of red to your image. And if you do want to edit this panel, if you do want to edit the halation very meticulously, you can turn on this mask mode. And I don't know if you guys can see, but I can increase this real quick. And you guys can see the outlines of where in the image the halation is affecting it the most. And There we go. You guys can probably see better now. And this is basically, and this is going to let you fine tune exactly where you're seeing those, where you're seeing it being affected. And then you can just turn it off. And there we go. So I did lower it just a little bit. I don't want too much in there. Moving on down to the bloom. This is where you're going to see a lot of those highlights being bloomed. So it's going to soften up the highlights. It's going to create a little glow. And for this specific image, we're just going to lower that source limiter just a bit. You know, if we increase it, decrease it, you guys can see, again, this also has a mask mode. So if we just turn this up just a bit, and as you guys can see, you can fine tune exactly what you want. And I just play with it, see what suits your image the best. I'm going to just lower the amount. I'm just going to lower the amount just about there to about 9.63. And this is going to vary based on your image, depending on how much highlights you have. If you have background lights, those are going to get diffused very nicely. And yeah, so moving on down, we have our last setting over here, and this is the vignette. And if you guys do want to create a vignette, this is the place to do that. You can adjust your exposure, whether you want like a white vignette or, you know, a black. We're going to keep the vignette very low. So we're going to make the size larger. So the smaller you go, the more central it focuses. And the larger you go, the more to the edges it stretches it out. So we're just going to create a very light vignette on the edges just to focus in all that onto the subject. Beautiful. And there you have it. Just like that, we've edited our photo, and I'll show you guys there's a little before and after. So this is before, and this is right out of the camera, and this is the after. So we've added a lot of depth, we've added a lot of warmth to the image to create that film look. And after you're all done that, just click OK, and this is going to save it back into your Lightroom. And just give it a second, and there you have it. So now you have a full resolution TIFF file, and all your settings are applied. And again, it keeps your original image, so it's a non-destructive way of editing, and you can always go back and edit if you need to. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope this was helpful. If you guys are shooting with a digital camera, so example, if you guys don't own the Fuji X100V, which has the built-in simulations, the film simulations, although those simulations are only applied to JPEG images, I feel that this method is a lot better to get more detail out of your photos, as you can apply them straight onto the raw files instead of the Fujis that will, you know, apply those edits straight onto the JPEGs. So if you guys are looking, again, to get the most quality out of your image, to get the most realistic film simulation effects, Dehancer is going to be the way to go. And again, if you guys have any other questions, feel free to let me know in the comments. And I hope this helped you guys out a lot, and I'd appreciate all your support. If you guys can just leave a like and subscribe to the channel, that'll be great. Don't forget to check out my Instagram. That's where I am active most. You guys can see all my photos there and some behind the scenes content from my photo shoots. If you guys have any questions, just send me a DM there. Thank you again to Dehancer for sponsoring this video. Again, if you guys do decide to purchase this, I will leave the discount code in the description and on the screen over here. Go show them some love, and I appreciate you guys watching. Take care, and I'll see you guys soon.